For part C, you're going to do the same thing that you did in part B, but you're going to use a different method for doing the calculations. So part B was what's called an analytical solution. You literally just calculate a bunch of equations. For part C, we are doing a numerical solution. So we're going to set up a system of equations and solve for it. This here is your system. So your inputs to this function are the same as the inputs to your analytical function, your analytical solution function. Your outputs, though, there's only 3 of them. Your x vector, your t vector, calculated the same way, and then your w. Your big matrix that I just explained in part B, where each column corresponds to your output. So t equals 0, x equals, or really m, n equals 1, n equals 1, where t equals 0. Here's m equals 1, m equals 2, all the way down, where this is x equals 0, x equals delta x, etc. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up a system of equations to solve for each of these columns. So each of these columns is your unknowns. Okay, so let me go ahead and explain. The process is explained here, but I can explain it really through the equations. So first things first, we are going to assume that your first 2 columns are known. Your first 2 columns, this column and this column. And these are described by that initial condition, that equation that's stated in the introduction video. So both of these are going to be the same. So essentially we're saying that the first initial time points, there's no difference. Okay. So those t1 equals 0 and t2 equals delta t, so n equals 1 and n equals 2. Those are defined by that initial condition, those first, that equation I mentioned in the introduction video. And then we are going to have a system of equations to solve for each additional column. So for this system of equations here, the wn plus 1 is our unknown. So we're essentially trying to solve for this. So this one here is wn plus 1, 1. This one is wn plus 2, 2. This one's wn plus 1, 3. So the superscript is our time. So it's our n value. Our subscript is our distance. It's our length. It's our m value. Okay, so that's how we're going to interpret this. wn plus 1 as a whole is the entire column. wn plus 1 sub superscript m is each individual value in that column. So this here is an unknown. So capital M is at the bottom. So this here would be wn plus 1, capital M, wn plus 1, m minus 1, not minus 2, minus 1, etc. So that's where all of our unknowns are. We also have wnm. These are knowns. These come from the previous columns. So this column here is wnm. This column here is wn minus 1 m. So this n here is your column. This m here is your row. Okay. That's essentially how you should think of it in your matrix. N is your column. And then m is your row. So this is a system of equations, so we set up in the form of ax equals b. So this side, our left-hand side defines a, our right-hand side defines b. And then x is our vector of unknowns. That's what I described. It's w of n plus 1. So note there's 5 equations, but in reality there are supposed to be m equations and m unknowns. So this one repeats. So let me erase all of my circles here and identify this. So W1, 2, 1, those are solid rows. Okay, so this is just the value in n+1 column for rows 1 and 2. These last two are known as well, or are static as well. So it's for the n+1 row, for the m-1, m-2, and m rows. Or the n+1 column, the m-1, m-2 rows. So these ones are for static locations. This one, this middle one though, we have this lowercase m. And this tells us that m goes from 3 all the way to m-2 for this equation. So that means we have 3 to m-2 equations that are listed out here. So essentially we're rewriting this to say that W1 n+1 minus 4 W2 n+1 plus 6 plus that thing, W of 3 n+1 minus 4 4 n+1 W plus W5 n+1 equals some constant. So this is the first equation where m equals 3. If we wrote it again with m equals 4, it would look different. It would have W of 2, W of 3, W of 4, W of 5, W of 6. If we had m equals 5, it'd be W3, W4, W5, W6, W7. Notice these coefficients aren't going to change, just our unknowns. So note the coefficients stay the same, just the location in our A matrix differs because our unknowns differ. Okay? So keep in mind when you're filling in AX equals B, this is going to be Wn plus 1 for 1, W2, W3, W4, W5, and then it keeps going all the way down to Wn plus 1. So those are our columns, our unknowns. Our rows then are filled by each of our equations. So this first one's filled by equation 1, or it's not called equation 1, it's equation 10, and then 11. My last two are filled by equation 14 and 13, and all of these middle ones are filled by equation 12. So you're setting up a big matrix, it's 201 by 201. You're filling in B, which is a 201 by 1. And then you're going to solve for X, where X is going to be the next column in your W matrix. So the first two columns are known, then you'll solve for your third one, and then fourth one, and then fifth one, and then sixth one, and then seventh one, and then eighth one, and then ninth one, etc. as you go along. So notice you have a lot of loops in here. Okay? A lot of loops, a lot of repetition. Once you do that, you'll be left with W. And you'll have another set of deflections. That's the same, more or less. It's just solved using numerical solution versus your analytical solution.